Feel your brain spinning after you read one tiny text? Notice how you stare at a menu for ages, weighing every option, knowing you'll regret whatever you choose? Hear how your own thoughts get so loud you can't even start what matters. Overthinking sneaks into every crack of your day, draining your energy, freezing your decisions, and leaving you stuck in the same old rut. Why do we keep looping the same worries? And most of all, how do we break free? Let's dig into what really causes overthinking, because once you see what's fueling it, you start to spot it in all sorts of sneaky places in your life. It doesn't just show up during the big, tough choices. It's hiding behind small things too, pausing before replying to a friend, feeling your heart pick up when your boss calls unexpectedly, even spending an hour picking out the right emoji to send. Let's talk about why you do this. First, let's dive into fear of failure. It's like this shadow that follows you, especially when you want to try something new or make a choice that matters. You worry, what if I mess it up? What if everyone sees me fall flat? Your mind instantly fires off every single outcome where things go wrong. It's like your brain is running a string of movie trailers, but in every single one, you're the star of a disaster movie. Remember the last time you hesitated before turning in an assignment, or the moment you stopped yourself from signing up for something new? You told yourself, now's not the right time. But deep down, it was that tiny fear whispering, don't risk it. You might fail. Think about a kid who always raised their hand in class, but stopped the first time they answered something wrong and heard snickers. That's how it starts. Those moments pile up, and soon, your brain is trained to think. Play it safe. Rethink it. Don't act unless you're sure. Now, let's talk about social comparison. Social media's turned this up to maximum volume. You're lying in bed, scrolling, and every post seems like someone else's highlight reel. You start asking, why isn't my life like that? Should I be working harder, eating healthier, traveling more, being more successful? Suddenly, even mundane choices, what you wear, what you say, what food you order, begin to matter way too much in your mind. It's like every moment is a potential Instagram story or a potential embarrassment. Your mind triple checks every word in that comment or text before you send it, because you're afraid of someone judging you. Sometimes, you even write and erase a message 6 times, or type it out and then decide, nah, too risky. So where does that urge to compare come from? Sometimes, it traces back to wanting to feel accepted. As kids, maybe you had moments when you were left out or teased for something silly, awkward shoes, weird laugh, the wrong answer. It burns into you, and you learn, blend in. Don't stand out unless you're perfect. Now layer on top the third big piece, the need for control. Most of us fool ourselves, thinking if we plan enough, research more, ask every possible person for advice, we can dodge making mistakes. So, you check weather apps 3 times before going out. You look up 10 reviews before ordering takeout. You ask 5 friends what they would do. One simple decision turns into an exhausting checklist. All that double and triple and quadruple checking is just your brain trying to grab onto something solid when life feels shaky. The messier things feel, the more you try to control every detail. It gets blurry with perfectionism. Maybe you learned growing up that only the right answer, the perfect grade, the best performance, got you praise. Maybe it was little comments from family, why didn't you get an A+ instead of an A? Or hearing, you can do better, you just have to try harder. Over time, your mind links feeling good with doing things exactly right, so making decisions gets scary. If it can't be perfect, your brain says, why risk it? Just keep thinking about it instead. Does any of this sound familiar? Here's a quick story. Jenny loved painting as a kid. She'd lose herself in colors and shapes for hours. But one day, her teacher pointed out a crooked line in her art. The next time Jenny painted, she hesitated. She erased, she redid, she doubted every stroke. Years later, Jenny hardly painted at all. She still remembered that crooked line. That's how early moments shape lifelong habits of worrying and second-guessing. Social media makes this even harder by putting us in a state of constant comparison, sometimes without us even knowing it. Dave scrolled through his feed and saw a friend's perfect vacation in Bali, another's new fancy job, and someone else's engagement. He looked around his own apartment and felt behind like everyone else had life figured out except for him. That feeling didn't go away when he closed the app. It stuck around all day, making him question every little choice. Should I have taken that job offer last month? Was my text to Laura weird? Am I missing out somehow? We all crave some sense of control. When life throws curveballs, maybe a breakup, suddenly losing a job, or news you weren't ready for, your brain wants to anchor itself somewhere solid. You start overthinking as a last-ditch effort to prevent more pain or surprise. You tell yourself, if I just think through this one more time, I'll be ready. But the truth? Overthinking doesn't really prepare you. It just wears you down. All this isn't really your fault. A pile of small moments, childhood memories, and life stress has trained your mind to believe that thinking more will keep you safe. In reality, all it's doing is stealing your peace in the present moment, but the feeling is so familiar, you barely notice when you fall back into the loop. It's not just the big failures or embarrassments. Little things can set you off. Maybe as a kid, your parent corrected you all the time, fixing your grammar, making you redo your chores, or reminding you to be careful with almost everything. It doesn't have to be dramatic for your brain to learn, if I don't check everything, I'll get in trouble. That pattern follows you into adulthood, turning simple choices into 1-0-step decision trees. We haven't even touched on how this shows up in friendships, work, or big life choices. Sometimes, you're sitting at work and that one bit of unfinished feedback from your boss echoes all week. Was he annoyed? Should I do more? Did I mess up? Your thoughts chase themselves in circles. You can't focus. After work, you try to relax, but that same tape is running. Should I text an apology? Should I call? Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Now, think about perfectionism again. It shows up as that voice in your head that doesn't let you send an email until you've proofread it 5 times, or refuses to let you join a game if you might lose. Amy was a straight-A student, but even B+s sent her spinning. The more she tried to control every bit of her life, the more she felt she was falling behind. Her parents thought she was driven, but inside, she was exhausted. There's even a biological side to this. Your mind is hardwired to focus on what's potentially dangerous or embarrassing. Back in the early days of human life, this kind of thinking helped people survive. Worrying about rustling bushes or weird shadows in the dark kept people alert to real threats. These days, the threats are a weird look from a friend or a typo in an email. But your brain can't tell the difference, so it's always on, always running scenarios, always stuck in that overthinking trap. It's a loop. Fear leads to more thinking. Thinking leads to less action. Less action feeds more fear. That cycle might even feel protective, like, if you keep thinking, nothing bad can happen. But is that really true? So, what happens to all that energy you spend overthinking? What does it really cost you in your day-to-day life? The next part reveals how much overthinking drains your energy, stalls your decisions, and even changes your relationships. But that's not even the strangest part. So, what does overthinking actually do to your life? Let's break it down and see just how much it weaves into every corner of your day, even when you don't notice it. Start with mental exhaustion. Have you ever caught yourself replaying an awkward conversation on a loop as you try to fall asleep? Or reliving a mistake from last week, thinking about what you could have said or done differently until you're so drained you can't keep your eyes open? That's mental fatigue from overthinking. Your brain chews on the same old worries over and over, never getting to a real answer. It's like opening the same app in your phone 100 times, hoping it'll update, but it never does. A typical day might look like this. You wake up, thinking already starts. Did I answer that email right? Should I wear this shirt? Or will people judge me? What if my boss asks about that project today? Tiny decisions start the thought spiral. By noon, you're tired, even though you haven't done anything major yet. By bedtime, your mind's still buzzing. You can't remember the last restful night you had. That's the first big effect: constant, low-level tiredness that makes everything harder. Jen, for example, was always busy at work but never felt like she was getting ahead. She'd spend half her day overthinking how to word an email. At night, she'd lie in bed, mind racing. Did I sound smart enough? Should I have changed that last sentence? Will my coworker be annoyed tomorrow? The cycle wore her down until she started dreading work altogether. People who overthink also notice subtle shifts in their behavior. You might find yourself zoning out at meetings, barely able to focus, because your brain keeps dragging you back to that one embarrassing moment from earlier. Or maybe you skip lunch with friends, worrying you'll say the wrong thing and replay it all night long. Over time, these habits add up, leaving you isolated and worn out. Next is decision paralysis. Simple choices start feeling huge. You stare at a lunch menu and stress over whether to get the salad or the sandwich, worried you'll regret your order. Should you go to that party? Or stay home just in case you'll feel awkward? Should you answer that friend's message now? Or wait? All that thinking soaks up your energy, and, sometimes, you end up picking Nothing at all. You put it off. Let someone else decide. Or rush the choice, then overthink what you picked anyway. Let me give you a real-life example. A friend of mine, Alex, once spent 20 minutes pacing in the grocery store aisle, trying to decide between two nearly identical brands of bread. He told me later, it wasn't about the bread, it was just, what if I get the wrong one? What if I waste my money? What if my family notices? The weight of little decisions left him exhausted over practically nothing. Everyone misses out sometimes, but if overthinking runs your life, you might avoid opportunities not because you don't want them, but because the worry around deciding drains all the fun out of trying. Ben spent weeks debating whether he should apply for a new job. By the time he worked up the nerve, the posting was gone. He kicked himself for being so slow. That regret only fed more overthinking. Now let's talk about relationships. This one's sneaky. Overthinking doesn't just hurt you, it stretches into your friendships, your family, even romance. Ever text someone and then obsess over when or if they'll write back? Or analyze a conversation for hidden meaning? Did they sound cold? Did I talk too much? Were they mad? You might read a quick reply from a friend and wonder, are they upset? Maybe I should write again and explain myself. Before long, a little misunderstanding turns into hours of second guessing. This constant worry often leads to miscommunication. When you keep mulling over every word, you might end up not saying anything at all, or blurting out way too much. Your relationships get strained, because people feel like they're walking on eggshells around you. Maybe they notice that you're hesitant, or defensive, or shut down for reasons they can't figure out. Lisa once lost touch with a close friend, simply because she worried too much about saying the wrong thing. She avoided calls, delayed replies, and built up misunderstandings in her head until the friendship faded away. Imagine being at a family dinner. While everyone's laughing and catching up, your mind fixates on a passing comment. Was Uncle Joe teasing me? Or did I actually annoy him? The laughter fades, replaced by worry. You nod along to conversation, but inside, you're replaying words, tone, facial expressions, searching for clues that don't even exist. That's the invisible side of overthinking. You're physically there, but mentally trapped by worry. Overthinking also slows your work and productivity to a crawl. Instead of doing, you end up worrying. Let's say you want to start a new hobby, playing piano, learning a language, or making videos. You plan, you research, you write lists, you look up gear you might need, but the doing never happens. You convince yourself you're not ready yet, or need to know more first. Those are just overthinking's clever disguises for procrastination. At your job, maybe you get stuck writing the same report for days, tweaking tiny details no one but you will ever see. Or you rewrite the same email, or keep reviewing a task instead of turning it in. The result? Time slips away, deadlines creep closer, and your to-do list grows instead of shrinking. You feel guilty and frustrated for moving so slow, but your brain just won't let things go. Even your body pays the price. Because overthinking keeps you stuck in a state of stress, it triggers muscle tension, headaches, jaw clenching, and sometimes even stomach pain. You try to power through, but your body keeps the score. Sleep takes a hit too. Have you ever crawled into bed, exhausted, but your mind flips on the bright lights? What if I made a mistake today? Did I say something weird? Should I say sorry? What if I don't get that job tomorrow? Minutes turn into hours. You toss and turn, wake up feeling groggy, and the cycle repeats. Your pillow becomes a war zone of what-ifs. For some people, this is every night, never feeling truly rested. And let's not forget, overthinking shrinks your joy. When you spend so much time in your head, you miss little moments, laughing with friends, tasting your food, seeing something cool outside. Worry acts like a curtain, separating you from enjoying the present. Sarah took a trip with her friends but kept thinking about work emails she'd left unsent and whether she'd overpacked. She looked back at photos later and realized she barely remembered being there, lost in her own mind the whole time. Some people might say, just snap out of it. But overthinking isn't a simple on-off switch. It's sticky, like walking through invisible spiderwebs. It doesn't just mess with outcomes, it rewrites how you remember stuff and how you feel about yourself. Overthinkers are often kind, thoughtful, and smart, but their minds make everything feel much heavier than it really is. You might also notice your confidence starts to slip away, little by little. You second-guess every compliment, thinking, did they really mean that, or were they just being nice? Or maybe you remember a time where you felt sure of yourself, only to talk yourself out of it later, replaying all the things you should have said. It's draining and sometimes even embarrassing. But it's not your fault your brain gets stuck in a loop, and it just gets harder to break the more you practice it. Overthinking's biggest trick is stealing your confidence. You might start doubting your gut, your memories, and even your ability to make choices for yourself. Instead of feeling strong in what you know, you start looking outside yourself for every answer. That means more asking, more checking, more waiting. Before you know it, you've trained yourself to not trust you. So maybe you're wondering, is there any way to actually catch overthinking when it happens? What can you do right now to spot it before it steals another minute? The next section breaks down how to recognize your patterns so you can finally take charge. And then everything changes. Spotting overthinking in real time isn't easy because it feels just like thinking. But if you start noticing what triggers your spirals, you get the power to stop them early. Here's how you can do that. Step by step. Start with a daily 5-minute reflection. Set aside a short piece of your day right after breakfast, during lunch, or before bed. Sit down somewhere quiet. Ask yourself, when today did my thoughts start racing? What event or comment made my mind run wild? The trick isn't to fix or judge, just notice. Maybe it was reading a group chat, seeing someone's post online, or hearing a family member offhandedly say, "You look tired." Keep a small notebook, or keep the Notes app ready on your phone. Write down every time you catch your mind looping. Kept thinking about yesterday's conversation with Sarah, or spent 30 minutes rewording one email. Don't worry about grammar or making it neat. Just the act of recording it gets it out of your head and onto the page. Over time, patterns start to show up. Let's dive deeper with an example. Imagine you're at work, and your boss gives you quick feedback on a project. It's nothing major, just a suggestion, but your mind won't let it go. Suddenly, you're replaying the conversation on repeat. Later that day, you catch yourself checking your email over and over, wondering, are they upset? Did I miss something important? That's the sort of moment to quickly jot down in your journal, boss's comment, overthinking for hours. Or picture being at a birthday party. Everything's going fine, but after someone says, "Hey, you've been quiet tonight," you start spiraling. Do they think I'm boring? Should I try harder? Are people annoyed at me? Even long after the party, you're replaying little exchanges, dissecting every word. Writing this down helps you see it's a pattern, not just a one-off bad night. Emotional triggers are huge. Maybe every time you feel criticized, your brain switches into overdrive. Maybe it happens when you're left out of plans, or when someone's late in replying. Environmental triggers matter too. Maybe specific places like crowded spaces or your office make you more anxious than others. Tracking these moments helps you see which people, places, or situations set you off most often. Try asking yourself, how did I feel right before the spiral started? Was it loneliness? Embarrassment? Did your stomach feel tight? Or did you get a headache or sweaty hands? Sometimes your body notices the pattern before your mind catches up. Ellie, a college student, shared this. I realized every time I started to overthink, my shoulders tensed and I started pacing. Noticing those body clues meant I could step back and interrupt the thoughts sooner. Take it up a notch by trying thought-stopping cues. It could be as simple as snapping a rubber band on your wrist, taking a deep breath, or standing up for a quick stretch. Whenever you catch yourself spiraling, try one of these actions. They're small signals to your body and mind that you're waking up out of the loop. It sounds silly, but the physical cue can snap you into the present. If a rubber band isn't your thing, try clapping your hands or even saying stop out loud. A lot of people find new ways to anchor themselves in the present. For example, Jason, who struggled with ruminating over what others thought of him, started tapping his finger on his phone case 3 times whenever he caught himself overthinking. He'd pair it with a phrase, like, "Back to now, Jay." It became almost like a personal reset button. A fun tech twist: use your phone's voice memo app. Catch yourself in the middle of a worry spiral and hit record. Talk it out, just as the thoughts are happening. I'm worried I annoyed my friend by not replying fast enough. Play it back later. Hearing yourself talk about old worries as if they're happening now helps you spot just how often your mind repeats the same patterns. You might notice, wow, I say the same things every time. It can be eye-opening and sometimes even a bit funny to listen to yourself fret over the same small worries again and again. Dana, for example, shared her first week of voice memos with a friend. Both of them laughed when they noticed that most recordings started, "I know I shouldn't worry," but it took some of the punch out of the worries, and it became almost a game to see who'd notice their patterns first. Once a week, go back and read. or listen to your journal or recordings. Look for phrases or worries you wrote again and again. What if I upset them? Did I make a mistake? Should I have done it differently? You'll see your mind's greatest hits. Maybe every Sunday night you get anxious about work, or maybe parties make you feel shaky every time. Knowing your triggers lets you prepare for them next time. Laura, a teacher, started this journaling after realizing her weekends were ruined by replaying work drama in her head. Every Saturday I'd start to relax, but then remember something from Friday like a student's odd comment or a coworker's frown. I'd write it all down, and every entry looked the same. Did I do something wrong? Should I have said more? Will they be mad Monday? Over weeks, Laura started seeing this same cycle after every staff meeting. Another key tip: try mapping out your day with a little color code. Mark the moments when you caught yourself overthinking in red, and the moments you felt calm in blue or green. After a few days, you'll see clear patterns. It might surprise you. Maybe you overthink most right before meals, or maybe it's always during your commute. We're creatures of habit, and so are our worries. If you miss triggers, and you will at first, don't beat yourself up. The point isn't to catch everyone or to solve overthinking overnight. You're just learning to play detective with your own mind. Sometimes you'll go days without noticing, then suddenly realize, whoa, I've been spiraling all morning. A great sign you're making progress is when you catch yourself spiraling sooner. Maybe you stop yourself after 10 minutes instead of an hour. Maybe it's before bedtime, not after midnight. Even the tiniest win counts. Celebrate it. Another trick: change your environment when you catch yourself looping. Step outside, open a window, or move to a new room. The simple change in sights, sounds, and smells snaps your brain out of autopilot. If you're inside, listen for birds, notice the colors outside, or touch something cold. The senses pull you back into the moment. It might sound awkward at first, but these small physical acts, journaling, rubber bands, voice memos, are like little roadblocks you set up for your runaway thoughts. The more you do them, the easier it gets to spot overthinking before you're totally lost in it. Here's a quick challenge for you. For the next 3 days, every time you notice yourself replaying something or second-guessing a choice, write it down or record it. At the end, look for patterns. Do certain people, words, or situations show up again and again? Maybe you'll find out you always overthink after scrolling social media at night, or after talking with a certain friend or family member. That tells you something powerful. Overthinking isn't random. It's got a rhythm. Now, you can start to beat it. But how do you actually stop the cycle once you know it's happening? What can you do to break free? Not just notice the pattern, but actually change it. Get ready, because the next part gives you the science-backed, practical steps to calm your mind and finally take action against overthinking. The question is, why? Now that you can spot overthinking as it starts, let's switch gears and talk real, actionable ways to break free. No fluffy advice, just simple tools you can do right now. Here's a bunch that actually work, straight from science and real-world experience. Let's start with a 6-0-second grounding exercise. Ready? Right now, place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes if you want. Take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it for a few seconds, then sigh it out slowly. Feel your heartbeat under your hand. Notice how the air feels cooler going in, and a bit warmer as you let it out. Hear what's around you: the hum, a bird, traffic in the distance. Notice the way your body sinks into your chair. For this 1 minute, you aren't fixing, planning, or worrying. You're just here. If you feel your mind drift back into a worry spiral, gently return your focus to your hand or breath. Do this every time you catch yourself overthinking. You're training your mind to pause before it races off with a story. Here's what's cool: even just a minute of this can make a difference. I know someone, Sasha, who realized she was zoning out in meetings, stuck replaying a dumb thing she'd said last week. She tried this hand-on-heart exercise just before Zoom calls. She told me, that 60 seconds was like hitting a reset button on my brain. Suddenly, I heard my own voice again, not all the critical noise. Next, let's talk digital boundaries. Overthinking loves to piggyback on phone time, especially late at night. Set up a nightly phone drop zone. That means picking one spot, like your kitchen counter or entryway table, where you purposely leave your phone for an hour before bed. Plug it in, walk away. Create a little ritual here. Maybe dim the lights, grab a book, or play music. Not a playlist that reminds you of things you should be doing, but something relaxing. You'll be surprised how quickly your thoughts quiet down when you stop scrolling and comparing right before sleep. Let me share John's story. He always scrolled through social media before bed, looking up hours later, more anxious than ever. He tried the drop zone trick and swapped scrolling for listening to chill music in his living room. First night, he said, it was almost uncomfortable, like there was this urge to reach for the phone. But after a week, he woke up feeling lighter and even noticed he was sleeping deeper. It felt weird at first, John told me, but my mood actually improved, and I worried less about what everyone else was doing. Breaking big worries into tiny tasks is another superpower. Let's say you're stuck overthinking a job application. Instead of thinking about the whole giant goal, just write down the next simple step on a sticky note. Open resume doc. That's it. Stick it on your laptop, fridge, or mirror. Then, film yourself, even just on your phone for you, not to post, doing that action. When you see yourself actually completing little steps, you start to trust your ability to move, not just think. Next time, write down and film step 2. Write first paragraph. When you get stuck, remind yourself, micro action is always better than macro worry. For example, picture this: your kitchen table, covered in sticky notes, each with a step so tiny it almost feels silly. Read email. Write one sentence. Find recruiter's name. Seeing them turn from to-dos to already don'ts, maybe with a check mark or a smiley face, builds real momentum. Now let's dive into the thought journal method for a whole week. Each night, grab an old notebook or the Notes app. Jot down every worry, loop, or regret that chased you that day. Did something make you nervous? Did a moment replay over and over in your head? Write as if you're talking to yourself, sloppy, honest, real. After a week, read back. Look for repeating themes. Did Monday's worry show up Friday, too? See if your anxieties shrink when you call them out. Journals aren't just for venting. They're proof that worries lose power once you shine a light on them. It's actually pretty powerful to see your worries in writing. Maria, for instance, felt like her mind was always churning. She told me, some of my worries sounded so dramatic in my head, but once I wrote them down, some loses their hold. I could see, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought. Celebrating small wins is key, especially if you're used to beating yourself up. Every time you break a loop by acting instead of staying stuck, record a quick video of yourself. Smile, say what you did. Send the email without rewriting it 6 times, and keep that video. Play it back on days when you doubt yourself. Evidence you can do the hard thing helps you build confidence, one tiny act at a time. Here's a real-world example. Jamie, who struggled to finish anything, started recording himself every time he took one baby step, like making a phone call or submitting homework with mistakes. At first, he felt silly, but after a month, he had a reel of proof that he wasn't failing, he was growing. Watching those clips turned guilt into pride. Let's try one more practical tip. Change up your scenery. If you catch yourself spiraling, get up and walk somewhere else outside, even if it's just to the mailbox or to open a window for fresh air. New sights and sounds reset your brain and lower stress. If you're stuck inside, blast a song you love and dance for 1 minute. It feels goofy, but it's almost impossible to overthink and dance at the same time. You might also create a tiny anchor object, like a smooth stone, bracelet, or even a favorite pen. When you catch your mind looping, hold this item and take a few deep breaths. The object acts as a reminder to stay present, returning your thoughts gently to now. If you're the type who gets anxious at school or work, let's imagine you keep a small, cool stone in your pocket. In tense moments, you grip it, feel its weight and smoothness. It anchors you back to now, a subtle, physical cue that no one even has to know about. Now, about tackling the fear of making mistakes. Tell yourself out loud, it's okay not to be perfect. Even write that on a sticky note and put it where you'll see it. Remind yourself that no one else is as focused on your decisions as you are. And if you're feeling brave, share with a trusted friend that you're practicing letting go of always getting it right. They might even help keep you accountable. Still feeling stuck? Try this experiment for 3 days. Pick one small thing a day you're worried you'll mess up, maybe wearing a bold shirt, posting a selfie without a filter, or speaking up in a meeting. Do it anyway. Write down what really happened, not what you feared would happen. Most times, you'll find out that nothing terrible followed. That's proof your what-ifs are way scarier in your head than in real life. Want an even deeper nudge? Listen to how Zoe described her first time speaking up in a group. She said her hands shook, her stomach churned, but after, just one classmate nodded and smiled. No one laughed or pointed. In my head, it was a disaster. Zoe said. But in reality, it was just another moment. I was proud I tried. Last tip, give yourself a cutoff time for worrying. Tell yourself, after 8 p.m., I'm not allowed to worry about work, school, friend drama. Sounds weird, but our brains listen to rules. When anxious thoughts try to creep in, gently say, not now, I'll handle you tomorrow if I have to. Over time, your mind will start to respect those boundaries. Just like training a puppy, be gentle but firm. Don't try to do all these things at once. Start with just one or two, and build as your confidence grows. Remember, it's not about perfection, but progress. You're retraining your brain to act, not just think. Each time you succeed, reward yourself, even just a proud smile in the mirror. Over time, these small steps become habits, and habits become a calmer, more confident you. And now, you might be wondering, what should I actually do right now, today, to start feeling better? Good question. Let's wrap this all together and talk about how to choose real action over overthinking from now on. So, what happened next? So here we are. After all this talk about overthinking, what it is, where it comes from, what it steals from you, and how to spot it, you're probably feeling two things. First, the relief of knowing you're not alone, and second, the hope that you really can make a change. Let's bring it all together. What are the top 3 things we've learned that will help you the most right now? First, overthinking isn't a flaw, and you aren't broken for doing it. Your brain's just trying way too hard to keep you safe. It learned to run these mental loops through a mix of old fears, a little perfectionism, and all that comparison noise we get every day. Knowing this takes away some of the shame. Now you can start to notice it, name it, and gently guide your mind back to the present each time it drifts away. Second, you can actually catch overthinking in the act, once you know your patterns. Those 5-minute reflections, quick notes in your journal, voice memos, or tiny grounding moves, like a hand on your heart or a snap of a rubber band, make a world of difference. These are little lights you can turn on whenever your brain starts spinning in the dark. Every time you notice, you're a step closer to control with practice. This gets way easier. Third, real change comes from action, not just thinking. You've learned simple, powerful steps, breaking worries into tiny tasks, setting up digital boundaries, giving yourself permission to make mistakes, and even celebrating the smallest wins. Each micro-action breaks the loop, retrains your mind, and gives you proof that you can trust yourself. It's not about never overthinking again, but about catching it sooner and choosing action anyway. Let me give you a specific example. I once worked with someone named Jamie, who used to get stuck for hours, replaying awkward conversations from work. We tried starting with something as simple as jotting down one sentence about what actually happened, instead of guessing what others thought. A week later, Jamie said, I realized maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought, and the world didn't end. Those small steps are what build new confidence. Now here's what I want you to do. Before you close this video, or scroll away, pick one tiny action, just one. Maybe it's setting a timer for a 5-minute reflection tonight, or starting a note on your phone that says Overthinking Journal. Maybe it's putting your phone out of reach for an hour tonight, or trying that 1-minute grounding exercise. Imagine how it'll feel tomorrow to look back and realize you actually did it. Circle one thing you can do this week. Write it down right now so you can see your progress, yes, even if it feels too small to matter. Sometimes, you won't feel ready, but action doesn't wait for perfect feelings. It waits for you to just begin. Remember, confidence doesn't come from getting everything right or from never making mistakes. It comes from seeing what happens after you act and learning that you can handle whatever comes. Each time you choose action over rumination, you teach yourself, I can trust me. It's a muscle. The more you flex it, the stronger it gets. You might feel nerves or doubt the first few times, but soon you'll notice a shift, like the air clearing after a storm. You start thinking, if I can handle that, maybe I can handle more. If you felt a breakthrough or learned something new, leave a comment with your biggest overthinking, trap, or share a win you've had, even if it feels minor. Are you struggling with work, friendships, or something else? Have a question or a story? Post it below. Other people will see your courage, and maybe share something that helps you too. We're in this together, all learning as we go. Sometimes your story is exactly what someone else needs to hear. They'll read your words and realize, I'm not alone either. If you want to go even further, the next video dives into mastering advanced confidence skills, how to quiet inner criticism, stand tall in tough conversations, and really trust your decisions no matter what life throws at you. Make sure to check it out if you're ready for the next level. We'll talk through actual scripts and real-life stories, so you can see these skills in action. So, here's the big question I'll leave you with. What could your life look like if you spent less time thinking and more time truly living? A. Picture waking up and knowing you can trust your gut, or saying yes to new things without a week of worry. Sometimes, the only way out is through. Take that first simple step, you might just surprise yourself with how far it leads. And that's the thing we'll never really know until we try.